Hello everyone, hope that you people are doing good. So today I'll introduce you to a new database, that is MongoDB. We haven't covered MongoDB on our channel. So this is the first video on MongoDB. So I have made various videos on MySQL database, Postgres database, H2 database and shared some playlists related to database. I'll link that into the I button. Please click on that and do watch that. But today let's discuss what is MongoDB, how it is different from MySQL database, and how to connect MongoDB with your Spring Boot application and save data. But before that, I would like to request you, if you gain knowledge out of my videos, if my videos solve some of your problems, so please support the channel by sharing videos among your contacts and commenting your feedbacks or queries. If new to the channel, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. So let's first discuss what is MongoDB. So for that, let me take you to the official website of MongoDB, and it says what is MongoDB. So MongoDB is a document based database with the scalability and flexibility that you want with the querying and indexing that you need. So it's a simple document based database, right? Other databases that we have worked on like MySQL, Postgres, they were table based database, right? So it is document based database. So MongoDB stores data in flexible JSON like documents, meaning fields can vary from document to document and data structures can be changed over time, right? So this is how JSON format data is being stored in MongoDB. The document model maps to the objects in your application code and making data easy to work. Ad hoc queries, indexing, and real-time aggregation provide powerful ways to access and analyze your data. MongoDB is a distributed database at its core. So high availability, horizontal scaling, geographic distributions are built in and easy to use, right? So you can read these points on the official website of MongoDB. Now we have got to know that MongoDB is a document based database and it stores data in a JSON like format, right? So now the other question is how MongoDB is different from other databases like MySQL or Postgres database. That how is MongoDB different from MySQL? So MongoDB is a document based non-relational database management system. It's also called an object-based system, right? It was designed to supplant the MySQL structure as an easier way to work with data. On the other hand, MySQL is a table-based system, right? As I told you previously as well. So now the question comes, which is better to use, right? So MySQL is an excellent choice if you have structured data and need a traditional relational database. MongoDB is well suited for real-time analytics, content management, and the Internet of Things, mobile and other types of application. So the use of different databases depends on what is your application doing, right? So both are good databases. Both are used in different ways in different circumstances of your application. So now we'll be working on MongoDB Atlas, right? So there is another tool available, that is MongoDB Compass, that you can download and run your database locally on your system. But we'll be working on MongoDB Atlas, so we'll be using the browser only. We'll be logging into MongoDB's official website and then we'll be using MongoDB Atlas. So to configure MongoDB Atlas for your Spring Boot application, first you have to go to the browsers and you have to log into account.mongodb.com, right? If you have an account, that's great. If you don't have an account, create an account or log in with these social accounts from GitHub or maybe from Google. I have faced various problems while connecting my Spring Boot application with MongoDB. So I have also curated the list of exceptions that I faced and how I solved those exceptions, that I'll discuss at the end of the video. So please stay till the end of the video because you might also face those problems. So you will have a written solution for that. So let me log in through Google. You have to go to account.mongodb.com and you have to log in from any of your email IDs, right? So now after login, I am being redirected to this page where I have to make clusters. I'll make a new database. But if you are working for the first time, you will be redirected to a page where you have to define your role. That why are you on MongoDB's official website, what you want to develop. So you can select various options out of there, that what kind of application you want to make, what is your organization name and all that. And then you can configure a database that could be a free database, right? So there are three categories of databases that you need to, data servers that you need to select from the organization page. So you can select the free one. I'll tell you that how to do it. Actually, I have already made an organization, that's why it is selected. So if I say I want to make another organization, let me make another organization. Let me say create new organization, and I'll say new applications, right? So this is the organization name, and let me take it to next. And organization owner, so it asks me the organization owner. So organization owner will be this website only, right? So this is my email ID, so this will this email ID will be the organization owner, right? So I'll say create organization. So this is how you have created a new organization. Now you have to make a project in that organization to work on. So you'll click on new project, and you can say Spring Boot MongoDB app, right? And you can say next. Project owner is also this email, right? So now you have made a new organization. I made a new organization in front of you, and we have made a new project now, right? So now it is asking me to create a database. So you have to create a database first. So you will click on build a database. It gives you three options wherein there are charges written, that whichever option you select. So this is a free one, so you can select this for time being. So you can say create by selecting M0, right? So the database is being created, and let me say a user. So you can simply say you can give a password here, right? So you can give a password as 1 2 3 4 5 6. I'll give 1 2 3 4 5 6, and let me say create user. Password price is too weak. So let me say Mongo 1 2 3 4 5 6. Mongo @ 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yes. So it will say add my. You have to add your current email. Okay, it is saying the IP address is already there. So your IP address is already been configured. So this is a local IP that you need to configure. And let me say finish. Go to database. So now I am on my database, right? So we have made the database. It is still loading, right? It is still creating the database. So what you have to do is you have to first create the database, right? And then you have to make a cluster. So already a cluster is defined. Cluster 0 will be defined on your database. So if you want to make a new cluster, you can create a new cluster. But if you want to use the existing only, so that will also work, right? So if now it is loading, it is taking time to load. So yes, it has started. The cluster is now up. Database is created, right? So now we have created the database, right? We have created our organization. We have created our project. Now how we will be connecting this database to our Spring Boot application? So now when the cluster window is in front of you, there will be a button called as connect. So you have to click on connect. A pop-up window will be open, and you have to say connect to your application. So you have to click on this drivers option, and here it is selected Node.js. You have to select Java. You have to select Java from here, and nothing changed in this version. So now what it tells you is that, okay, this is the URL of your database, right? So if you remember that when we used to configure MySQL database, there will be a URL, there will be a database name, your username, your password, right? So all those things were required, and that were separated into different properties. Now in MongoDB's case, there is only a single property that you can give it in your application.properties and assign this URL to that property, and this database will be linked to that application, right? So now everything coming in this Angular bracket says that you have to put a value here, right? So this is the URL that will connect to your application. So you can copy this URL right now, or maybe we'll copy it later. So you can close this window. Now what? Now you have to create a database, right? You have created a database. You have to make a tables as well, right? So you need to have a collections. So in the, when we talk about MySQL database, there we need tables, and in MongoDB database we need collections, right? So you need to create collections. So how you can create collection, and you can simply click on browse collections. So it says there is no collections. It is retrieving and it says no collection. So now you can simply say add my own data, right? So when you click on add my own data, it will say you that, okay, enter a database name and enter a collection name. So you can, if you are designing a application, you might be knowing that what data you will be saving, retrieving, what operations would be performed in your database on which entity. Today I'll save a product entity where I would have a name and an ID and maybe anything other things, right? So you can define a database like product, right, and the collection as products, right? So you can define the database as product and collection as products. So simply you don't need to additional preferences. So you don't need to select anything here. You can simply say create and the collection would be created here, right? So now the collection is ready and your database is ready and your collection is made, your database is made, everything is ready. Now what you have to do is you have to again go to database, right? You have to go again, click on database, then click on connect, and you can simply click on drivers and select Java and copy this URL. But before that, let's go to IDE and let's make a project, right? So how you have to make a project? You have to have two dependencies, simple two dependencies to configure your MongoDB for your application. So I'll say new project. So we'll say Spring Starter project. Name this application as Spring Boot MongoDB app, right? So the Java version is 8 and Spring Boot MongoDB app, Spring implementation, everything is okay, right? So now let me select the Spring version 2.7.12 and right. So two dependencies that we need for configuring MongoDB in our application. One is Spring Web, just a simple Spring Starter dependency to make simple REST APIs, and then you have to search here MongoDB, right? So you'll search MongoDB and you'll get Spring Data MongoDB, right? So as this application, this dependency says Spring Data JPA, same way Mongo has a separate dependency of Spring Data MongoDB, right? So same way you can configure the Mongo JPA repository for your applications. So if I say finish and let me import the project. So our project is ready, right? So let me first take you to pom.xml. So in pom.xml, you can see that there is a dependency of MongoDB, that is Spring Boot Starter data.mongodb, right? So it's same as the dependency that we used, Spring Data JPA, right? So same way it's of MongoDB, right? So JPA dependency is used with table structure database and MongoDB has a separate dependency. And then we have the Spring Starter dependency, right? So now I'll make a very small example wherein we'll configure our database with our Spring Boot application and we'll save some data. So first what we have to do is we have to make a model package. So let me make a model package first. So let me say new, let me say package, let me say model, right? So in my model package, I'll have a class, right? A class of products. Class will be of products, right? Now, when we used to work on databases like MySQL or Postgres, then we have to define the model as @table, @entity. But in MongoDB, as we say that it is a document-based database, then we have to define this class as @document, right? So if you say @document, Spring Framework Data MongoDB core mapping, right? So it says @document, right? So now you have to give the collection name here, right? So the collection name will be of products that we made, right? And I'll take a very small example. So let me simply say int id, right? Let me define this as private, and what I have to do here is we have to mark this id as unique. So we'll say id, right? @id. So now you can see the difference, right? When we used to work on JPA, then the @id dependency was coming from persistence package, right? but now it is coming from Spring Boot Spring Framework data.annotation.id, right? So now we can simply say private string name, so name of the product, and you can generate the getters and setters for these two. So let me go to source and let me say generate getters and setters, select all and generate. So this is how you can define your model while you are working with MongoDB, right? So now our model is ready. Now what is required is that there should be an interaction point between database and my controller. That interaction point is repository. So we need to have a product repository. So let's make a separate package for repository, new package, and we can remove model from here. We can simply say repository, right? So in the repository package, you have to define another interface, right? So you have to define another interface, that is product repository, right? So in the product repository, you have to extend this repository with Mongo. Sorry, I have used extend. It's extends with Mongo repository, right? The same way we had JPA repository, in this example we'll have Mongo repository. So you have to define your product here, right? So your entity will be here, it will be products, and your ID will be integer, right? The same way that we used to do for JPA repository as well, right? So this is my repository, my interaction point is ready now. So now what I have to make a API, right? So API will be made in the controller package. So let me define a separate package for that. So I'll remove model and I'll say controller, right? And let me define a separate controller for product controller. Let me say class and we'll say product controller, right? So our controller is ready. You have to mark this as a REST controller, right? So we'll be making a REST API here. So now I'll use just a simple example. So I'll just save the data and show you the data in the cluster, in the UI of MongoDB Atlas, right? So we'll mark this API as post mapping, right? So let me say post mapping and let me say save. We'll be saving the data and we'll also be returning the data, right? So we'll say public, we'll say products and save products, right? And we'll be getting the request body that is in the JSON format from our postman, right? So we'll say products, so we'll get an out product, right? So you might be noticing that I have used the entity directly in request body. That shouldn't be used, but it's a small example, that's why I'm using it right now. But when we'll be making a full CRUD application on MongoDB, then I'll be using a DTO object rather than using an entity, right? Products there. So what we have to do simply, we have to simply return, and first we have to annotate we need to auto wire, right? So we need to first auto wire repository. So let me say product repository, right? Product repository, product repo, right? So what we can do simply here is that we can simply use product repo and we can simply say save, right? So save returns the object that the object is being passed to save, right? So after saving, it returns the object. So it will return you the object, right? So I'll say product, right? So after saving, it will give me an output, right? So this is how you can save the data into your database, right? I have simply taken a repository and I've called the save method, the same way that we used to do while we were working with the table structured database like Postgres, MySQL or H2 database, right? Now what we can do is, now we have to configure our database. So what we can do, we can simply go to application.property. So we have to configure a property called as spring.data.mongodb.uri, right? So you have to configure this property, and what you have to put in here is you have to go again to your Atlas and you have to copy this, right? You have to copy this URL, paste this URL here. You have to change this password, right? The password that is in angular brackets. So you have to change this password. The password was MongoDB or it was Mongo @ 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? 5 6, right? And after this slash, right, this is the cluster name, @cluster name, and after this slash you have to give your database name. So my database name was product, right? So, and everything remains same, right? So you have to save it, right? After saving, you can simply go to your main application and run the application. Let's see that it is connected with the database or not. Let me run the application. So some exception. What is the exception? Invalid connection string. So I guess I have forgotten the username, right? It is not able to connect to this user. So first what we can do is we can simply go to our Atlas, as I don't remember the password right now. So you can click on database access, right? And you can simply say add new database user, right? And you can simply name this user as admin, right? And the password could be like I can simply say spring @1 2 3 4, right? It won't be using the special character, so I will say spring 1 2 3 4, right? So let me see the password, spring 1 2 3 4, right? So let me copy this and let me paste this password here. Right, so let me paste this password here, and our username is not JavaTechW, it's admin now, right? So let's go back, let's scroll down a bit, and we can simply say add user, right? So a new user has been added and we have configured the user in our database, right? So in the database string. So let's save this and let's again run this application. So it says unable to find valid certification path to requested target. So these were the exceptions that I was telling you, right? So I have the list of exceptions. Let me first cover those because this exception has come. So it says this same exception has come, that unable to find the valid certification path for requested target. So how did I fix it? I have already upversioned my Java version. So what is the problem here is that if you have if you have an older version of Java 8, then in your trust store, the certification won't be there, right? And that is what is causing the problem. SSL certification won't be there, and that is causing a problem because while connecting with MongoDB, you need an SSL certifications, right? So what you can do is you can either switch to a higher version of Java 8 or the latest version of Java 8, or maybe you can change your Java version. So what I did is, what worked for me is that I changed my Java 8 version to Java 11 because my Java 8 was of older version and I switched it to Java 11. But what problem came while we were running the application, because I selected Java 8 in my application, right? So how you can change it? First, you have to go to pom.xml and you can simply change the version from 1.8 to 11, right? So save this and go to your application, because if you save this, it won't work, right? You have to go to build path and you have to configure the build path. You have to select build path, and in your Java build path, you have to remove this JRE, right? So you have to remove 1.8 JRE and you have to click on add libraries. You have to select the 11, yes, the default one, the JDK 11. I have already installed it. If you haven't, so you have to click on alternate JRE and you have to get the link of the JRE, right? So I have already installed Java 11, so I'll select JDK 11. Let me finish it, right? And let me simply say apply. right? So it will apply. So let me click on now Java compiler, right? So you have to change these things to run your application. So let me say here Java 11, right? So 11 has been selected now. Let me say apply and close. So I'll say yes. So you have to rebuild the application, right? So application has been rebuilded, no errors, right? I have already changed my version of Java in my pom.xml. So now what I can do is I can simply run the application again. So let me restart my application. So now you can see that there is no exceptions and my application has started, right? So my application has started. So let's go to, so let's go to the Postman and let's go to this URL of /save. That's our API that we have made, right? And in body, we can simply have a product, right? So any product, we have to just supply the name. So the ID will be auto generated. We just have to supply the name of the product. So I am giving the name of the product as table, right? You can give any name, right? So let me simply send this request, right? So let me send this request. Let me click on send. So it is getting saved or not. So it says 500. So why the error? Why has the exception come? So what is the exception? Let me check. Command failed with error 80. User is not allowed to do action insert. Okay. User is not allowed to insert. Okay, so let me first again go to the database access and let me, or we can what we can do is we can simply edit this user and we can edit the password, right? So we can edit the password as spring 1234, right? So if we say this password and with the user Java Tech W 2022, right? Let me show the password spring 1234, right? So if we go and connect with this user, I guess I have created an admin user, but that user is not given the rights of read write. So let me simply say Java Tech W 2022 and the password is this. So if I save this user and let me close the application again and let me run the application again. So these are the exceptions that you would be facing, right? And you have to read the logs and you have to find out that what is the problem coming in your application. So let me restart the application and let's see that it is connected with the database or not now. So application is up. So let's simply hit this endpoint. It again says error. Why it is an error? So it says bad auth, fail to do actions, bad authentication, right? So this is also one of the exceptions, I guess, that I handled, right? So let me go down and let me say yes. So this was the exception, bad authentication exception. So how I did, I created a new user and gave a username and a password to it. But what we did was we created a user, but it wasn't given access, right? So let's again create another user, right? Let me close this and let me again say another user, and what we can simply say is let me say admin1 and we can give the password as 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? So let me say password is this. We need to add built-in roles and you have to give the role of Atlas admin, right? So we were not able to give this role when we were creating the admin user. That's why it caused problem, right? So now if we use admin1 with the password as 1 2 3 4 5 6, it should work, right? So let me now add this user. No, it is saying something. What is there? The password provided is 2 weeks. So you have to provide a password that is a little strong. So let me say spring 1234. So now I guess the password is okay. So admin1 1234. So if you add this user, yes, the user is added and admin rights has been given to the user. So if you go back to your application.properties and change the user to admin1, right, and the password is same. So save this, close your application and run your application again, right? So let me click on again. So now my application has started, right? So let me now again go to Postman and let me hit this endpoint again. So yes, you can see that the ID is 0 and the name is table. So data has been saved into the database and it has been returned to the user. So if I saved the data, right? So the table data was being saved. So how you can see that data? So you have to click on database, right? And you can simply go on browse your collections, and in the collections you will have the collection of product, right? So you can see that the ID is 0 and the name is table, right? So the table is being stored into your database, right? So this is how you can work on documented based database, right? So as I said that at the end I'll be discussing the various exceptions that I faced, right? So this is the exception that I faced in front of you, that you have to create a new user, right? Give him the rights of Atlas admin and then configure that URL with that username and password. It will work. This exception will go away, right? Then this was the first exception that was caused, right, when I was using Java 8, right? So you have to switch into a new Java version or maybe update your current Java version, right? That will work, right? And if you get this kind of exception, right, MongoDB Mongo socket read exception, prematurely reached end of the stream. So here what you have to do is you have to configure your current IP to MongoDB Atlas, right? So you saw that when I was creating the user, it asked me that you have to configure your IP. So I configured my IP there, so it worked for me. This exception didn't come, right? So this is how you can simply work on MongoDB Atlas, right? And this is a very good database, a documented database, right? So this was it from this video. Hope that you people might like, share, comment on the video, and if new to the channel, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. I'll surely make another video of a full CRUD operation on MongoDB, right? So hope to see you in the next video. Till then, happy learning.